we showing up. Our season is here. Yeah, I used to look in the mirror and question my worth. Wonder if I was enough, wonder what I deserve. God said, daughter, I've been speaking since birth. You just gotta see your value before you see your worth. See it, vision bigger than you yesterday. Break it, every lie that tried to.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the You Can Show with Dr. Nina Addison. And today I have a very special guest. Now, y'all know I recently, on the first episode of this season, I talked about how there's 8.3 billion people in the world, right? And how God was saying, listen, you can make a bigger impact than 4 million. Because that was my little mindset, like, oh, 4 million, let me touch 4 million. God was like, do you know how many people it is in the world? But did you know of the 8.3 billion people, 15% of the population, over 1 billion people are born with some form of disability? Yep, have some form of disability. You heard it. And so when I learned that factor, and y'all know I love homeschool, homeschool helps, and we have some children in our program with different learning abilities. And even in traditional school system, all school systems, there are children with all different learning abilities. And I like to say different learning abilities because this show is called All Children Can Learn. And that's something that I totally believe. And so I have a very, very special guest. Y'all, this is my sister friend. And so I have a very special guest today, and I'm going to read her bio and we're going to get right into the conversation. If you did not know, this month is considered Disability Pride Month, which means we are educating people on, because you have Disability Awareness Month, which I believe is in October. But this month is dedicated to people with disabilities being okay with who they are, not feeling ashamed of who they are, and understanding who they are and walking proudly in who they are, along with educating people, because there's so many different things that people do not know about people with disability. And y'all know I'm an advocate for people with disabilities. Why? Because I have club hands, radio club hands. So I don't have thumbs and my arms are short and curved. I don't have much movement in my left hand, but I still do anything needed, wanted, or desired because God allows me to. And so this topic is so near and dear to my heart. And I do want to invite you all. This is the last week that you can grab your ticket for the Page Awards, which is taking place August 8th. Okay. It is taking place in Orland Park. And you all can go to all of my social media sites, right? And grab the tickets. You want to be there, not just because I'm the keynote speaker, but because this is an event that I think everybody needs to experience. It's a magical moment where you come into a room with people of all different abilities and everybody feels like they belong. Nobody feels isolated. We honor people with disabilities. We have just a great time. You see children with disabilities in a room. You see adults with disabilities in a room. And some people, disabilities are visible and some are invisible. But no matter what, everybody belongs in this place and space. So please support the You Belong Foundation and go to youbelongfoundation.org and grab your tickets today. The 25th is the last day you can buy your tickets. So you do not want to wait. And we're believing God to fill the room, fill the space, so the people that is being honored that have disabilities can know just how special they are. So I want to see you all there. Thank you in advance for grabbing your ticket. Again, youbelongfoundation.org and grab your tickets today. All right, let me read the bio for my amazing guest because we're going to let God have his way. All right. Dr. Vanessa M. Scott Thompson, Dr. V, as we call her, is an interdisciplinarian leader. Y'all like that word? With extensive experience spanning K through 12 education, higher education, and nonprofit and the nonprofit sector. Sheethebomb.com, period. Okay. Since 2019, she has served as vice president in the nonprofit sector. Dr. V earned her bachelor's degree in secondary education English from DePaul University. She also holds a master's degree in education administration and supervision and a doctorate in higher education administration from Loyola University Chicago. I really can stop reading now, right? And just go. Okay. She has been a Christian since the age of 8. Me too. Committed to empowering girls to be strong, smart, and bold. Dr. V serves on the board of directors for Girls Inc. Chicago. She has been married to her husband for 24 years. Y'all know I like the number 4 and definitely the number 24. And is the proud mother of 2 children, an adult son and a middle school age daughter. An accomplished writer, very accomplished, Dr. V's work has been featured in various Christian blogs and magazines. She is also a certified life coach, educator, and speaker who is committed to building the capacity for others personally, professionally, and spiritually. In 2022, she published her inaugural book, Foundation Basics for New Members, Teacher and Student Manual. Now, if your church is needing some growth and some education, we're gonna get into that later. But yeah, y'all hear it here. Dr. V is active across social media platforms. So to learn more about her, I'm gonna need y'all to make sure you go to drvmst.com. And if you're like, wait, let me make sure I wrote it down right, and you're listening to this live on ICU Radio or Spotify or Apple Music or any of the platforms, because I'll be iHeartRadio, all of the platforms, head on over to YouTube, and her link is in the description. So you want to go over there and get her link, because you're going to want to connect with her. You know you already do. You heard me read the bio. But as I read the bio, more importantly, this is my sister friend. I mean, God connected us, and we know it was a God thing. Some things you like, dag, I went to this event and I didn't know I was gonna connect. And honey, I'm so glad, so glad that God connected us. This is literally, I don't call everybody my friend anymore. Okay. This is my friend. And so I'm very grateful and thankful to have her here. Long overdue. Hi, Dr. V.
Hey, Dr. Nina.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. Now, I read your bio. It's beautiful.
Okay.
But you are so much more than just that bio. And I love for people to just open up and tell people who they are in their very own words.
Okay, so that's kind of hard, but I'll try to do that. So I'll go personal first. So as you already talked about, I'm married. I have 2 children. I am a member of Living Word Christian Center. Been there for 8 years, and I've had a journey being in different denominations over my life. But I'm now glad to be in a non-denominational church that teaches about faith. Professionally, you already talked about it, but in K-12, I was a teacher and instructional coach, an assistant principal and a principal. And then in higher education, I was a coordinator and an assistant director of a teacher prayer program. And now I am the vice president and program and people at a nonprofit in the South suburbs. And so I don't know what else I want to share,
Tell us
but
something fun
that's
about you.
that's kind of that's it.
She
Something
knows all
fun
the best
about me.
restaurants to
So
go to.
actually, I do
Okay.
like to eat.
You was about to
Something
say something.
fun
Look, I'm talking
about
about some. She knows all the best restaurants to go to, because you do.
something fun about me actually is that my family and I, we go on vacation every year, and I try to make sure that there's an educational component in that vacation so that we can learn something. So this year we went to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and we went to Bush's Baked Beans Visitor Center because Bush's Baked Beans is manufactured about 15 miles outside of Pigeon Forge. I can't remember the small town's name, but it's literally a 2-lane highway
Wow.
with the production center and manufacturing plant on one side of the road and the visitor center on this side of the road. And then, like back in April, my family and I, we went to the Quad Cities and we went to the Spoon Museum in Davenport, Iowa. It's the largest spoon museum. They have over like 30,000 spoons on display in the United
Wow.
States of America. So it's not that we don't have fun. It's just that I try to make sure that we learn something on every vacation.
That's just the educator in you, right? She is an educator at heart. Like, listen, I'm not gonna be out here making sure everybody else get their education, and my family ain't getting it. Everything starts at home first. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, speaking of education, since that is our topic of the day, you have such a wide range of education. So,
Yep.
and you've seen so many different levels and so many different people, and education is always changing, especially with the school systems today.
Mhm.
Can you give us a little bit of your journey and
Yep.
yeah.
So I started out so actually I come from a family of educators. So my mother was a teacher and my sister just retired as a teacher. And so I started my career off as a teacher of high school English. And then I did that for 2 years, went to work in a community college downtown to be a coordinator of a dual credit program, and then went back to teaching at the school I had left. And then God allowed me to become an instructional coach. So, an instructional coach in education is somebody who is kind of a subject matter expert in their subject to help teachers of that same subject. So, in my case, it was English and social science to become better at their craft. After a couple of years of that, I got laid off. And so, when I got laid off, I had just gotten my doctorate. So, newly minted doctorate, got laid off. God allowed my resume to end up on this woman's desk to become an assistant principal. So I applied for her job, and then two people recommended me for her job. So I was an assistant principal at this high school for 9 through 12. And at the end of that year, I laid myself off because they were going to make some changes, and I really wasn't cool with it. So I was like, just lay me off. Of course, 3 weeks later, that same woman who had hired me as her AP at the last school was like, "Hey, I just got promoted to a regional officer. So there's a
Wow.
school in your community because I lived on the west side that needs a principal because the principal had walked away late June." So I became a principal of a two campus school, a K-4 school and a 5-8 school, and I had to open the middle school. Um,
Wow.
did that for 3 years, had some philosophical differences there. So that this organization had 12 schools. That year, 10 of us quit. One of the 10 who quit was a niece of the owner of the charter management organization. And because we had philosophical differences about, so I'm big on if I ask for the resources that I need and you get upset about it, and they kept getting upset about me asking for the resources I needed for my school. After a while, I just heard God say it's time to go because they were starting to pick at me for every little thing. And so I
Yeah.
walked away. I had 6 months off, and then God allowed me to become an assistant director at a teacher ed program at one of the largest universities in the state that produces all the teachers, which is Illinois State. And I'll come back to Illinois State in a minute. Then God plucked me from Illinois State after about a year to become the principal of my last place, which was Young Women's Leadership Charter School. I closed that school in 2019. I asked God, I'm not going to say God said this. I asked God to release me from education because when you're a principal of a school, people don't understand that you're working 12 to 14-hour days. So that means that my family was not getting the best of me because until Saturday and Sunday, because Monday through Friday, I was occupied with everybody else's children.
Yeah.
So God blessed me in 2019 to become a vice president in a nonprofit. My boss believed in work-life balance, and I've now had that since 2019, which is I
Wow.
work 8 to 9 hours a day, and I'm literally done, and nobody expects me to do anything after hours. And that allows me to get my balance back to be present for my family, particularly my 13-year-old daughter and my husband.
I love it. And you're still in education
I
in a sense.
am. I mean, yeah, because at my current place, we have a school. So we serve people with developmental disabilities. So
Mhm.
those are like autism who are nonverbal, people who are medically fragile. That means they can't speak. They might need some kind of we call it AAC device. It's a device where it's like an iPad where they can pick the words in order to be able to
Mhm.
speak to you. We also serve people with Down syndrome. And then we also serve people who might have what they call comorbidities. So sometimes a person will have autism, but they will also have a a deficit in their sensory processing, or they also may have a hearing disability or some other thing. And so, yeah, I'm still in education. And then we also do adult services where once they turn 22 in the state of Illinois, they can
Mhm.
get placed in an adult services program if they do the right stuff with the state, and it's a long and arduous process so that
Yeah.
their child can, that we call them, I say child because most parents place their kids, but so their child can be placed for the rest of their lives, even beyond the parents, living, so that they would live in, have ability to have day activities and also live in a cellar with people who are trained to take care of their needs outside of the day services program.
Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah, we gotta talk after this. Like, I learned so much about my friend and her job. We always get together talking about everything else, but I just learned so much more. So I'm like, "Oh, we gotta talk about this. The You Belong Foundation needs to know about this." So we'll be talking. Okay. So I know when we were talking about our topic, and I mean, that is wonderful because people need to know that places like this exist,
Right.
because there are so many families that, especially once their child turned 22. Shout out to Wendy Cunningham Barnes. I just seen her. I've been, seeing her son just aged out at 22, and he's fully
Yep.
wheelchair bound, nonverbal. And so
Yep.
it's like once he turns 22, either she's at home all the time, or
Correct.
the resources and things are so limited, and parents oftentimes don't know what to do.
Yep.
And I
I
know
was
this
going to
ain't
say,
even what we
actually, the
was talking
resources.
about. So go
So
ahead.
here, listen, the resources are actually available. It's just that in Illinois, there's something called a PUNS list. I don't know what it stands for, but parents have to get on that list, particularly when the child is 17 or 18, to make sure that when they age out at 22, they have an opportunity to get placed in a program. So it's not a shortage of programs and a shortage of spaces. It's a shortage of parents not knowing that they should have applied 3 to 4 years in advance and not wait until 22. Because once you wait until 22, your child may not be placed until 25 or 26.
Yeah. So listen, if y'all are listening, if you are watching, whatever you're doing, if you know of a parent with a child with a disability, please educate them. Send them this show, okay? Send them this show, because we want them to know what to do so that they don't end up in the situation that many parents do end up in. And again, I know someone personally who is ended up in this situation and is trying to figure things out. And what people don't even understand is I've seen comments and different things where people are like, well, that's your child, and if they're over 22, you should be at home with them and different things, not understanding that everybody still has things that they need to do, places they need to
Yes.
go, and to
Yes.
be at home 24/7 is not always feasible for nobody. And
Correct.
so people who don't deal with children with disabilities don't understand that. And so I really
Mhm.
wish people would keep their comments to themselves sometimes, but people gonna be people, and they gonna say what they want to say and think that it's okay. Okay. See, we didn't talk about everything but what we said we was talking about today. So let me get on topic. Okay. So we're talking about education and special needs and different things. So I want you to just take it away, because
So,
God gave you something.
so special education actually, I got exposed to it early in my career as a teacher. So my principal realized early that I was what they call differentiating instruction, which is trying to meet every child where they was. And so he puts, I had like 33% of my kids in my class were special ed, meaning they had some kind of learning disability. And I also had a co-teacher. So my first year of teaching, it's me and a co-teacher. Second year of teaching, same thing. Third, fourth year. So I had to learn pretty quickly how to work with a special ed teacher so that they could help the kids access the curriculum. But most times my co-teacher would tell me I was already doing that. And so, and then when I got on the administrative side, what happens is that a lot of times parents don't know what to ask for when their child shows up with some kind of learning difficulty or some kind of learning delay. And so then as a principal and as a case manager and all the things that are in the school, when you're trying to talk to parents about, hey, we think we might need to assess your child, some parents are very resistant because they don't want their kids labeled. Not
Yeah.
understanding that early intervention is the key to making sure that their child can have more success over time, particularly if their disability is mild or moderate and not severe. So
Mhm.
I said all that to say, then God had the audacity to give me my own special needs child when my son was born. So my son is now 23. But at 3 years old, his developmental milestones just paused and stopped. And I started seeing sensitivity to light. I started seeing sensitivity to textures. I started seeing perseveration. Perseveration is when you really focus on one thing. So his one thing back in the day was like Thomas the Tank Engine, and then over time it changed. Sort of, he knew the 50 states and capitals, and he knew all the presidents' names. So it's always some obsession
Yeah.
typically that a child with autism has. And then on top of that, with autism, it is a spectrum. My son was high functioning Asperger's, but there's a social deficit. So a lot of times we have social cues that we pick up on and we've learned eye contact, how to answer questions quickly, being quick on our feet. That's not necessarily true for a person who is on the spectrum, particularly like my son who's high functioning. A lot of other kids though who are on the spectrum, if they are nonverbal, they're still very sharp, but it takes more work in order to understand what they're thinking and feeling because they typically use some kind of communication device in order to be able to do that. And then 10 years later, my daughter, who was not biological to me, but she might as well be, she was born with not the greatest womb conditions. And so I'll just say it, she was born on drugs. And so my girlfriend, who's a nurse, had warned me when the baby was born. She said, hey, the baby's probably going to end up with ADD or ADHD because that's what we typically see with children who are born on drugs. And sure enough, at age 4, I started seeing the impulsivity, the hyperactivity, the not being able to listen, the lack of executive functioning skills, and all those things. So she was diagnosed at 4. Unlike my son, she ended up asking for medication at 8 because when you have ADHD or ADD, your brain is always swirling and it never calms down. So it's a constant shh. And a lot of times, kids with ADD and ADHD, they'll just do and they won't think about the consequences, whether it's good or bad, until after the deed is done. And we know that that's kind of scary because we really need kids to think about what they're going to do before it happens as opposed
Yeah.
to thinking about it afterwards. And so my baby is doing okay. We still have a lot of work to do. We are now talking about her judgment. So a lot of times my baby can see things, my 13-year-old, and she knows that it's not great, but her brain and because we Christian, our Holy Spirit haven't all converged to say, hey, you need to pay more attention to this. Typically, me and my husband have to point it out for her in order for her to see it. And then once she sees it, she got it, and then she can run with it. But you really want your kids to have their own level of judgment and critical thinking without you always having to provide it to them. Because when they're 18, 19, and 20, they need to be able to do this on their own as much as possible.
So tell us about your son, because now he's an adult.
He is. So my son, he had all kind of supports, just like my daughter, all through elementary, high school, and college. So one-on-one
And he
aids.
went to college.
He did, and he graduated.
Oh,
And he graduated because he went to Illinois State University. He asked
mhm.
for accommodations and modifications in order for him to be successful to access the program. So a lot of advocacy he did himself because I taught him starting in 7th grade that I was not going to always be available because I told you I was a principal. And so I
Yeah.
taught him how to email and how to talk to adults about what he needed. I have taught my daughter the same. She's still developing that muscle, but yeah. So my son is now a college graduate. He's having the hardest time finding a job in this job market because of two things. One, this job market is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But also, too, my son is on the spectrum, and you can pick up on that within the first 20 or 30 minutes of talking to him. And so we're just waiting. This is my Christian background talking
Yes.
for God to manifest in the earth realm what he has already set in the heavenlies. The plans he has for him, plans to prosper him and not to harm him, and plans to give him
Yeah.
a hope in the future. So we're just while I'm patiently waiting, he's been impatient, that manifestation in the earth realm. But the fact that he
Right.
got through college and got
My
a
God.
degree is
All
pretty
children
cool,
can learn.
right? It was that I know that was his perseverance and that was God putting his super on his natural, making him
Come
supernatural.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You've said so much in this amount of time. I do want you to kind of tell us what advice would you give a parent because you have both of your children, two different differences,
Yep.
and one has showed you, hey, I'm successful, I've done school, I've graduated college, and now you are working with your daughter to navigate through the same
Yep.
life and different things. What advice would you give a parent who is like, okay, my child is going to be 17 or is 17 and he's getting ready to or she's getting ready to graduate high school, what do I
Mhm.
do? And may even think that it's not possible, or, come on, speak to them, speak life.
So before I answer that, actually, I think that I just need to go back and pick up where I left off.
Okay.
When your child needs a diagnosis, you need
Hmm.
to do one of two things: either send a letter to the school and ask them to assess your child, or find your own psychologist, like a psychiatrist, to assess your child so that they can have an IEP. Well, in Illinois, we call it an IEP, an individualized education plan.
Hmm.
And what that IEP will do is give your child accommodations and modifications in their major subjects, also their minor subjects, and access to what we will call related service professionals, a speech language pathologist, an occupational therapist, possibly a nurse, possibly a social worker, possibly a counselor, because the IEP is going to outline exactly what those supports need to look like for your child to be successful. Then, once your child graduates high school and they're 18, before they're 18, so we had a couple options. So the state of Illinois, I can't think of the name of the program, but they would help kids with disabilities transition to college. But because my income wasn't low enough, my son couldn't go to college for free at a community college. So my son could have gotten associates for free had we
Wow.
had a certain level of certain had we had less income, and the state would have paid for that because he had had an IEP from kindergarten through 12th grade. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
so I can't think of the name of the division, but that was something that would have been available to us. We couldn't access it, but they would pay for tuition and books at a community college. Once that child finishes community college, they typically would allow them to go to a state school to do the exact same thing as long as your income stays the same. So the other thing I would tell parents is this. So this is something new that I'm watching. So like Northern Illinois University and U of C and all these places, if you have a certain income level, most places it's anywhere between 80 and $100,000 or less. If your child has like a B average and a good ACT score or strong essay scores or demonstrates some kind of leadership in high school, they can go to school for free. Typically, tuition is covered. Room and board is something you will still have to cover either out of pocket or with a loan. But that's the new thing that I'm watching is people are understanding that college is so expensive that universities and colleges are trying to figure out how to make it more accessible to parents. Because my son's college education was about $100,000, and God blessed us to cover. God covered through scholarship about 60% of that. So my husband and I only had to come out about 40% of that out of our pocket.
Praise God.
Yep.
Wow, praise God. So y'all know
Yep.
we're gonna have to have her back because we need to know, like, okay, scholarships. Let's talk about this because the school year is getting ready to start, and in some places the school year has already started. I was like, wait a minute, it's still July, but
Right.
some places the school year has started, and so I thought this topic and this subject is very important because there are parents that have kids that may or may not have a different disability.
Right.
I like to say difference. That need this information, and then those with disabilities that need this information as well. And you have provided so much hope. Just in this amount of time, I listen. This was so much hope, and I'm even looking forward to taking this information back to my homeschool parents because homeschool kids they go to college too, and most people
Mhm.
think like, oh, they're just at home. Not at all. And so and a lot of them get into school much easier because the school board the colleges look at them as some people who have more discipline and different things. And so this is absolutely wonderful, and I feel like I just want to glean so much more. I know our time is like a little this time goes by so fast. I'm like, wait, hold on, we still got stuff to talk about, which we still got to talk about a few more things. So y'all hang on with us just a little while longer, a little while longer. I don't want to forget anything that God may have. Before we talk about, I do want us to still talk about your book and the
Okay.
workshops that you present through your book. But before we get that on the subject of education, was there anything that we missed or something that you really wanted to make sure you got across?
Yeah, I want to make sure too that if your child does not express an interest in going to college, that you seriously connect them with trades. So
Yes.
the one thing I like about my current church is that my current church does like these apprenticeship type programs to help people get ready for the trade. So like there's a program called I think it's called either Illinois Works or Illinois Tool Works. I can't remember which one. And they kind of help people get prepared for plumbing apprenticeships, carpentry, electrician, all those kind of things. So my dad was an electrician by trade. So I'm just going to say it out loud. I don't have the poverty story that a lot of people have because I had
Oh,
a parent who was in a trade, and a
Mhm.
parent who was educated, right? And so
Mhm.
that's another reason why my sisters and I are all college graduates and everybody has a college degree and are taking care of themselves. That's beside the point. I want parents to know that you need to figure out which path your 18-year-old will take when they leave high school.
Yeah.
Is it college? And if it's college, you need to figure out the post secondary track starting in junior
Mhm.
year. If it's trade, you need to start that track junior year so that you know what programs or apprenticeships or pre apprenticeship programs they need to be in. Or is it military, right? Because some people
Right.
still do want to go to the military.
Yeah.
And so those are like three, well, there are four tracks. Or do they want to go to work? And if they
Mhm.
want to go to work, that's okay too. But you
Yeah.
might have to help them with that as well. So I would say that there are four things, four pathways once you leave high school. It's college or
Yeah.
trade or
Mhm.
military or you work. The
I
one
love it.
option nobody has is you can't sit around and do nothing
That part.
once you come out of high school. There has to be
Mhm.
a plan for your child and you have to help them with that plan so that when they're 18, they're not looking at you and going, and you're looking at them and going, what's your plan? No, you start planning sophomore year, freshman, sophomore year, high school about what do you think? And it is kind of crazy that we ask kids what they want to be at 18 and 19 because they kind of don't know,
Yeah.
but we should at least be helping them to figure out a
Mhm.
pathway to take to help get them where they might be going.
So my freshmen and juniors, I did it with the eighth graders too. Homeschool last year, I had them to create a mission statement as if they were in their careers. So
Okay.
I know the ones that want to be a firefighter, the ones that want to be music engineers, all the different areas of expertise. Because even if their vision changes, they need to have a vision. And
Yes.
so, like I tell them all the time, when I went into college, I don't know what made me. Well, no, I went into college and I listened to everybody else and I started with computer science. I learned how to make a few games because everybody like, this is the way the world is going, but that wasn't where my heart was. And then I had nerve enough to choose English, and I took English with support in high
Mm,
school. I don't know what made me think English. Like I quickly knew that wasn't it. And so I started to go to the career center and utilize your career centers. And I
yes.
talked to a counselor at the career center and she asked me a question. If I went to bed tonight and now I use this in coaching, when I wake up tomorrow morning, if I was living my dream life, what would that look like? And
Mm,
so I started seeing myself at a 19, no, I was 19. Yeah, I was about 19, 20 years old, seeing myself helping people. I knew I wanted to do something helping people. And so she had gave me this assessment and I took this assessment and
mm,
then that showed me human development and family studies. And I even had because of my hands, but also in college we realized that I had a difficulty taking exams. Like I
mm,
can be in study groups and give everybody all of the answers. You put that exam in front of me and I freeze up. So I had to start taking my exams for my classes by myself.
right.
And
It's
that
called
was the
test
way that I
anxiety.
was able
Yep.
to do better,
Yep.
with my
Yep.
exams. So it's like so many
Yep.
different things. And it's okay if you need something different. It's okay
Yes.
if you need help. It's okay
Yes.
if you need if you don't do it the traditional way. The thing is to do it. I had to do a lot of things non-traditional, but look at me now,
Right.
and a lot of people look at that, and I love the fact that you said it because some people feel like they have to have a certain type of story in order to. So I'm glad you freely said, look, I don't have that particular story. Whereas
Mm-mm.
somebody else may. No matter what your story is, you still can become who you're supposed to become.
Yes. Yes.
And so thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
You know what your counselor gave you? It's called a career interest inventory. So most
Mm,
high schools worth their salt will give kids a career interest inventory, typically sophomore year. The other thing that I've learned though that we can be doing as Christians, because I just took mine about a year ago, is our spiritual gifts
yes.
assessment.
Yeah.
So if you take the career interest inventory, which is secular, with your spiritual gifts assessment, God will help you see very quickly where the overlap is. And then you'll
Yeah.
be able to pray and say, Lord, which one of these pathways am I supposed to be going into? So, okay, I'm done with that.
No, I love it. Look, let them use you. He using you. I love it. I'm gonna go back and take notes while I'm listening to it. Because I do listen to my shows. I do watch my shows. And so I'm gonna go back and take some notes. So thank you for that. That was a lot of good stuff. And no matter what track you are in, y'all have something to take from this episode. I mean, we didn't cover so many different subjects in this one show, but it was so yummy and so good. But we're not going without talking about this brilliant book that you have. Let's go ahead
Oh,
and talk about it.
so this book was birthed from my last church when I was asked to take over the new members class. So I wrote a book for new members class, but really, over the last 4 years, I've learned that new Christians like it too. So let me tell you what is in this book. And I actually have a copy of it that I'm about to pull so I can read you a little bit of the table of contents. So this book talks about teaching tips for teachers, and it gives you 10 sessions for students and for teachers. So some of the sessions are why am I a Christian? So talking about salvation, an overview of the Godhead. We call it Trinity, but Trinity is not the biblical term. Godhead is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Baptism and the Lord's Supper, how to pray and study the Bible, the armor of God, praise and worship, tithes, offering and stewardship, and spiritual gifts. And it's a couple more lessons in there. That book is to help teachers to teach their students, particularly if they are new members to a church, about those topics to help them have the foundational knowledge they need to begin their discipleship journey, right? But for new Christians, what I've discovered is that they look at the teaching part and they take it for themselves so that they can learn the foundational principles for themselves so that they don't feel so lost. The book also includes a section about church etiquette so that people know all the lingo that we use and
Yeah.
also major Christian holidays. So we know that the major Christian holidays are, we call it Easter, but it's really Resurrection Sunday, and Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then I know some churches are starting to honor the Jewish holidays as well. And I don't know those as well, but I know that that's a thing. This book, though, is really for a few people. One, that Christian education person or that new members person in the church or outside of the church, a new Christian. Or I actually had somebody tell me that they were not really Christian and they read the book and it didn't
Mhm.
convert them, but it gave them a better understanding of this Christian faith that we follow. My book is currently used in my old church and funny enough is used down south in Mississippi at one of my aunt's friends' churches. So I don't know where else the book is being used, but I know being used those two places. I
Mhm.
do workshops. I've done a couple workshops where if a church hires me to either help them to figure out how to use this book and or be, use this book as a basis for a Christian education full out framework, I can help them do that. A workshop I'll be doing in the fall is about how to use this book to make us the lessons accessible to everybody. So a lot of times in church, what teachers are guilty of is we want to stand up and lecture. Research shows that only 10% of the information that you hear from lecture you remember. If you interact and engage with the Bible, and if you do activities, people are going to remember anywhere from 50 to 70%. And that's what you want because you want people to stay engaged with the scripture so that they'll go back and read it by themselves and study it so that we can live this Christian thing out until we meet Jesus at the end of our lives, which will hopefully be 80 or 90.
Right. Long, long time from now. Long, long time. I want to see Junior have a family. But don't we all? Junior gonna want to see his kids have family. Look, dang. Oh goodness. And they can get the book
They
on
can
your
get the book
website.
on my website and you can click on book, or you can just go to Amazon and put in Foundation Basics for New Members Teacher and Student Manual. The book still sells. People are
Yes, it
reading it
does.
and they want it. So please continue to buy this book if you need foundational Christian knowledge. Those are your foundational topics. If you know those, you'll be able to build the blocks from there. But if you don't know those foundational topics, it's going to be hard to stay connected in church when you don't know those topics.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And if you are like in the membership area of your church
Yep.
or the hospitality or
Yep.
anything, yeah, get it and read it. Even if you feel like I have been in church forever, I don't need, yeah, you do. You can never
Correct.
stop learning. You can never
Correct.
stop growing, and
Yes.
that's something we need. And so when you talked about the Jewish holidays, I was like, yes, I follow all the Jewish holidays. Yes, and yes. We're getting ready to
Yep.
enter, I believe, the LUL. So, yeah, so y'all, I showed the flyer. If you're watching this via YouTube, if you are on any of the other platforms, go to her website. Please tell the world your website.
drvmst.com.
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it. And if you can't remember it, think of her name, Dr.
Right.
D. Vanessa. Just think of her name.
Correct.
Look, I'm gonna try to say it. I have to look at it too, y'all. But yes, please go. And if you're like, hey, I just want to click on it, head on over to YouTube /Nina Motivates, and you will be able to go to the description of this video. And her website link is going to be right in the description. And if you are watching this on YouTube, go down to the description and click her website and get your book. I don't want to hear nothing. And once y'all get y'all book, let me know y'all got y'all book. Okay. Dr. V, I am so blessed by having you here. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough. This episode, that's why I don't even develop questions anymore and all of that stuff, because it's going to go where it's supposed to go, where it wants to go, where the Lord takes it. And you're such a breath of fresh air and have so much different, I mean, listen, all the knowledge and expertise. So I want to thank you so much for sharing and
Thank you
for
for having me.
educating me and my audience and for helping us out. And oh my goodness, y'all looking for a speaker, y'all looking for someone to come and do presentations, y'all looking for somebody for workshops. Go on over to her website, yes and yes, because y'all heard all of this stuff, and I know y'all like, man, this was so good, and that it was. So keep sharing this out. I want to thank you all for listening in to the You Can Show, where you come and get not just motivation, you get tools you can actually use that you can share with someone else that will give them the power to know that they too can. So I know that you can. Parents, today you learned that you can, that your child can get an education. Your child can either go to college, get a trade, go to the military, even though parents be like, or get a job, that you can have hope. You can learn. Okay. It was so many different messages. You can learn how to be a Christian and to not feel overwhelming. Look at all of the lessons she gave us. It was a whole lot of lessons. She gave us a little bit of everything. Okay. So go and support this amazing author, amazing woman of God, amazing doctor, amazing coach, amazing, amazing, amazingness. And I stand behind her 10 toes down, period. I may not have 10 fingers, but y'all know I got 10 toes, so period. Okay, I'm gonna stop acting silly. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you tune in every Monday at 6:30 p.m. on ICU Radio 97.3 or on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio. Y'all, we everywhere now. And YouTube. Yay! And so this is still, God is going to keep growing this and keep moving this. Before you know it, I'm going to be in the studio for real somewhere. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I love you all. God bless and good night.